pause. Oh, and I'm going, pause? What is this? And that's what my husband explained it to me. That's cute. Oh, my goodness. All right, so we are live?
I think it's good, right?
Okay. All right, we are calling this meeting to order once again, now that we have audio. First item, ballot review. Okay, so, the ballot that we're presenting today, we removed the president and vice president, if you'll notice under, U.S. president and vice president. We removed that after each candidate's name. I talked to Benton County, and they do not include that on their ballot, and they have had ES&S program their ballots before. So basically what happens when ES&S programs the ballots, the state just sends that information, like the federal and state information, and they put it on the ballot. And I was emailing with Leslie last night as well, and she sent me an example of Boone County's ballot. Boone County's ballot just include the president after the name. It did include vice president after the vice presidential candidate, but she said just to be consistent. Yeah. We could not find in the law that we're required to do that. So I think the way we have the ballot presented right now is correct. I know that Benton County is planning on presenting their ballots this way as well. If we include that vice president after the vice presidential candidate's name, it messes up the express votes in such a way that we cannot correct it. So basically, on the names that are very long, it might have their full name, and then it will say vice, and then president goes below. And so it looks funny on the express vote. So basically, Leslie's comment was to just be consistent with what we do. So I do think that this is easier to read. We have it in the header, U.S. President and U.S. Vice President listed first and then second. So if you're agreeable with that, this is what I would propose that we do in regards to the President and U.S. Vice President. Renee had also asked me to present or to see what a 3-column ballot looks like versus a 2-column ballot. Regardless if we do a 2 or a 3-page ballot, the ballot length is the same. Right. It doesn't change. So the question is, which ballot is easier for a voter to read? And currently we have 4,700 absentee ballot requests, and the clerk just keeps having gaps in her office. Yeah. So I personally think the 2-column ballot for a voter at home filling it out is easier to review and to look at. And the ballots, the single ballots that I have, those are both within precincts, so that kind of gives you an idea of what it would look like. Well, we're not saving any paper. No, and like I said, regardless if it's a 2 or a 3-column, it's still going to be the same amount of paper. We don't yet know about these issues, whether, and which one? So if 4 and 5 were to fall off the ballot, I would then push for the 3-column ballot because we could get 6 on there. But until we know that, I think we should stay with the 2-column ballot, because I don't think we're going to have an answer to that within the next week or so. Right. And getting the ballots proofed and tested and to the county clerk's office in a timely manner is the most important thing right now. Yeah. What's the deadline for having the ballot ready to send out? So technically, the deadline is we have to have the ballot in the county clerk's office September the 17th. But that gives her zero amount of time because she then has to mail out ballots September the 18th. That gives her no prep time to really do what she needs to do.
Probably more important, when do we know about constitutional amendments?
We don't know. They could do that at the very last minute. And they don't
Well, if that's the case, that's going to push our ballot further down?
No, we just leave it on the ballot.
Okay, so,
Just like every year, the first day of early
They
vote
don't
is
count
when they decide
Yep.
that issue such and such won't be on the ballot.
all right
So
then.
we've dealt with that every year.
But, all right, what's your deadline then to say we don't care what they do on the amendment side of it, we're going?
I think honestly, September 1st. And the reason I
That's
say
not,
that
but
is,
you're around the corner.
That's a week.
Yeah, you're right.
and the reason I say that is because we want to thoroughly test this on the 450.
Mhm.
We want to thoroughly test and make sure that every precinct, is correct with every candidate, every contest that is supposed to be on there.
Yeah.
The further we wait, the worse off I think will be in regards to getting everything to Becky's office.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to stay with your September 1 deadline, is what you're
I
saying?
would like to, yes.
And that gives you 17 days to the deadline on Becky's side of it.
Right.
And you'll want to do that, and you'll probably be in a position to, start printing in advance of the 17th, is what you're saying, and that'll be a significant.
Yes, because we've always not, the thing that's the gotcha on these, we not only have to test the paper ballot, but we also want to test the express vote. If any changes made to the paper ballot impact the express vote, or the way the express vote looks impacts the paper ballot, the two go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So that gives us a significant amount of time to test, and then also to make sure that we give the ballot to the clerk's office a week in advance.
Well, then you've made the decision, and the ballot layout is whichever we choose at the deadline date, September 1, and we're gonna move forward, is my understanding. Actually, that,
I agree.
yeah. So whether it's a 2-column or 3-column at this point,
That's the
really
question.
academic,
That's what
we,
we're asking,
yeah.
that's what I'm asking, which layout do you like?
well, let's give you the first choice of the 2-column ballot, and then if you hear something differently on the constitutional amendments, then we can change it.
Sure, yes.
So I think that's the way
That's
for
an
you to approach.
optimistic way to look at it.
Well, I think that's our best shot.
I agree.
Yeah.
Y'all agree?
Yeah,
And gets her off high center.
Yeah, I agree.
Lets her deal with
Right.
a short time frame.
right, yeah.
Yep.
Well, let's have a motion on that, and, we'll move forward.
Well, I make the motion that we give Jennifer the latitude to decide whether it's a 2-column or 3-column, ballot based on what occurs with the constitutional amendments. And move that we approve it and give her the discretionary authority to do that.
Second.
Is that adequate?
Yeah, with the understanding that you've stated your preference is to do the 2-column ballot unless the Arkansas Supreme Court knocks out issues 4 and 5, and you can push issue 6 to one page. I agree.
Are you certain you can push
Second.
issue 6 to the back side, where is it? With the for and again?
Yeah, Fayetteville and, I was gonna look at the Springdale ballot real quick.
Oh, yeah.
The Prairie Grove ballot is pretty big, the Springdale ballot as well, but, the Springdale ballot, yes, we would be able to, yeah. Prairie Grove is the largest. Prairie Grove's the largest ballot we have, so yeah.
Okay, now, I'm looking at the header and the footer on both of these, and they all say Prairie Grove.
They say Prairie Grove annual school election.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yes, Prairie Grove is the only school district that will be holding their election with the general election.
so it almost looks like everybody's gonna be getting a Prairie Grove ballot unless they look at the precinct. Am I right?
Well, I mean, general election, nonpartisan judicial general
Yeah,
election.
right.
is Prairie, we can change that.
It does look like that,
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, we can take that off, and we can just we can just say general election, nonpartisan judicial, general runoff election, and special elections.
Yeah, let's do it that
Okay.
way. That's a little,
It's less
I
confusing.
mean,
Yeah.
you know, you're gonna field a lot of questions anyway, and that would be one that perhaps you could avoid fielding.
And Prairie Grove
I
is a very minor part of the election side of it, I would think.
Yeah, true. Okay, I have a motion on the floor and a second to, let Jennifer proceed, with either the 2-column or the 3-column, depending on, well, I mean, the 2-column, you're just gonna have to move forward on that and see
Right.
if there's any last-minute changes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nobody opposed. The motion passes.
Jennifer, you can come back with us anything that doesn't fit in that framework, you know, if
Yeah.
you need direction.
I don't think it'll happen until way after September
No,
1st.
I don't
Yeah, I don't either. A week away, I don't see that
Yeah.
happening.
The other questions we had for the ballot was the unopposed candidate.
Oh, yeah.
If you'll look at, on this Prairie Grove one, on the 2-column one, we've changed the language on that.
Is that on page one?
It's on page 2, it's on the back of page 2, it's after.
Oh, I
the
see it at the
full
bottom.
text. Yeah,
Looks good to me.
is that acceptable?
I think that's perfect.
Yes, I do too, and I like that you vote, and you're voting for it. It matters not.
Right, right.
You're voting for it whether you vote or not.
I
Good point.
You know, they're unopposed. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
there's,
right, that's right,
if one person votes for it, it's done.
yeah.
Hmm?
Well, does it even need one vote?
Well, not really.
Technically?
No, they don't, they're actually certified,
Yeah.
without the vote.
But that's simple and clear, straightforward. yes.
Yep, I agree, it looks good.
The other question we had, and this, you may have better wording for it, this is just what we came up with, on the front of the second page.
Front, second page.
Second sheet?
Yes, second sheet, the front, where it says may be continued on back.
I
Okay,
looked at that.
so this is why we came up with that phrase, is because the rural precinct 6 sits on the front of page 2, or page
Okay.
3, whatever page one.
Okay.
But on some of them, it is on the back. But this little channel, basically, that we put on here, runs through every ballot. We can't make it unique for individual ballots. So, if you think there's better terminology, or, something different you would like us to put there, let me know, because we can, I mean, because,
What have you thought about?
so we could just leave it with continued on back, except for those that on the back, there's nothing there, then they're gonna be wondering,
What did I miss?
You're
What
gonna miss
did I
a page.
Yep.
so that's why we said the may be continued on back. And we do feel definitely that there needs to be something there, because 6 kind of gets lost
Right.
on the back of the page. We just weren't sure what that needed to be.
And you really don't, if you put issue number 6 on back page, there may or may not be an issue 6. Chances are it's gonna be on there, whether it's been approved or whether it hasn't been.
Also, Debbie?
So, I think what you've done is probably about as accurate
I agree.
as you can do that.
Seems fine to me.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
Renee, what do you think?
I think it's fine. It's, I don't know, it's clumsy, but there's not really any way around it.
Sure for it.
No.
We couldn't,
There's
we
n-
tried to think of something.
There's no confusion there. It's just, it may be continued on the back. It's just a heads up, check the back.
Yep.
That's
all
what
it-
we need to say?
Yeah. A little less professional. Heads up, check the back page.
No, I like the way you think on that. Yeah, I
the meat
don't
of
see
it.
how we can avoid it.
I see nothing wrong with that at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll
No
leave
one else
that.
does.
That one was kind of odd.
Yeah, it is,
But we
but,
didn't know what else to do for it.
yeah.
The other thing that you may notice on the ballots, like especially in issue 4 and 5, sometimes it looks like there's a space, like like it jumps down to the next line, and there'll be oddball spacing.
Yeah.
That is to fix the express vote. So in the past, we've talked about the fact that the express vote sometimes just takes a word and just cuts it off in the middle of the word and drops it down to a new line. In order to fix that on the express vote, we have to do this on the paper ballot.
You make the change instead of letting the program do it.
Yeah, and so that's what that kind of spacing is, in order for us to do that. We can't have it perfect on both of them, but we feel like on the express vote, it looks worse when it cuts off a word in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
No question.
So,
Well, the sentence continues and so does the paragraph.
it does, yeah.
What do you think?
Well, it irks me, but it's, again, is there anything we can do about it? Apparently not.
Not unless you rewrite the program.
Well,
I'm not prepared to do that. Although I'd sure
Me
make
either.
it work.
Yeah,
the new software
it wouldn't come out this way.
that we may get next year gives us a little bit more flexibility on the
Oh, that would
fonts
be
on the
sweet.
express vote, and then this may not be an issue.
Yeah.
But right now, we felt like this was the best, for us to fix it on the express vote, so.
Does it work any different if you justify?
No, because the express vote
Oh, yeah,
doesn't truly
yeah.
care.
Yeah.
What the express vote's doing is, it says it can only have, let's say, 1,000 characters on the screen.
Oh, yeah.
Then when it gets to 1,000 characters, it doesn't care
Where
where
the
the
break
split
is.
is, it just makes the split,
Wow.
so. And I
Well,
don't know what the count is, but that, we just know it's
Yeah.
random,
Yeah.
and we have to look through the express vote to find it.
Yeah,
Well-
we're working with a computer that just doesn't understand it's a computer, apparently.
And then the other thing to notice in the bigger stack that I've given you, sometimes, if you look at the second ballot, Brush Creek, when you see issue number 2, if you'll notice, issue number 2 starts in column 1 and then flows over to column 2. We can't control that either, because each ballot has its own random set of candidates that are on it. And so we have to set it to flow so that it will flow from one column to the next and not just be stuck in a particular place. But our fix for that was, if you'll notice, it says issue 2, number 2 in the header. When you get up to the column, it says issue number 2 as well. So we felt like that was
That's a good tip.
a fix for that. So, and it breaks randomly on different ballots, depending on the number of candidates
How
and
many
contests.
does it break like that for?
There's quite a few that it breaks like that for. We haven't gone through every one of them, so there's 95 unique ballots. This is just 30 of them. This gets you a look at all of the candidates and offices on the ballot. But then there's 95 unique different ways that they can appear on the ballot.
On that item you're talking about right now, on the 4th line, there's a spelling error. Oh, have you looked at it, any of it?
So on these, are you talking about in the
I'm Constitutional Amendment, Arkansas Citizen Redistricting Commission.
Issue 1? Which issue?
The ballot title,
Issue 4.
Okay. You
Issue
typed
number
it,
4.
did you?
I don't know, have you done a spell check?
Okay, so the state sends this to us so that we just copy and paste and put in the ballot.
Well, all I'm telling you is that if you look at the fourth sentence, there's not, wilt is not a number, or not a word, wilt,
Yeah.
unless you're talking about a flower wilting.
Well, in Old English, it might be.
And sometimes we
Okay.
don't ever correct
Okay.
that because the state sends it to us the way it is
You see that, Max, or is it?
Yep.
turned in. I mean,
Check
As
on,
long as we didn't do it, that's my main
we
concern.
did not do it.
Okay.
This is all
cut and paste.
cut and paste from the
Yeah.
Secretary of State's office. There's another one that we found too, is it in 4 or is it in 5? Where is capitalized and it shouldn't be, but once again, is
Yeah.
related. Yeah, once again, we were hesitant to make those changes because it comes to us from the state and they tell us to put it on the ballot exactly the way we get it.
Regardless,
Yeah, so,
so they don't care about errors.
well, I'll ask and see, but I'm hesitant to prove that part
Well,
of it because.
they might not care, but we're the ones that are on the front line.
Yeah, I agree with Bill, just make sure that when we copied and pasted each one of these issues, that nothing changed. And if there are issues, I would flag them and just confirm with the
Just-
Secretary of State, hey, FYI, we identified these 3 grammatical errors, just want to confirm that we must print these on the ballot, and that you sent us the right file, you know, I mean,
That's
just
a good
confirm.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you send
Did
it
we
the right
get a
file?
corrected file, yeah.
Yep.
I'll check with them and.
Yeah, I think it's just CYA in this particular case, Jennifer.
Yep.
I understand and we can stand the heat, that's not an issue, but we don't want to be ones that create the errors.
Yep.
It's not what we do.
No, and that's part of the reason we cut and paste, because
Right, yeah.
the theory is that they have it proved.
Okay, what else?
I don't think, was there anything, I think that was it. And so for the U.S. President and U.S. Vice President, for
Oh,
those
yeah.
offices, on the express vote, the first 6 candidates appear on the first page, and then the remaining candidates fit on the second page. We tried everything we could think of to get more to appear on the front page, but there was no way for us to do it. And it's because some of the candidates have really long names, it
yeah.
forces it to a 3-line, the 3 lines, and if we could do 2 lines, we could get 10 on the front page. But because it's 3 lines, we can only get 6 on the front page. So that is, we'll have the Democratic presidential candidate on the front page, and then the Republican candidate will be on the second page. And I brought express votes for you guys to see.
Yeah.
You hit more to be able to see, and you also get the warning page. If you didn't hit more, it says there are more candidates, are you sure you want to advance? So, that is an issue with the presidential races.
I
So,
hate
yeah.
that.
So, and then of course, 4 and 5 and 6, you have to hit more. to
More,
be
more,
able to
more, more,
read.
more, more.
Yes. 4 is very long in order to be able to read it on the express vote.
Wow.
So, yeah. That seems different about the ballot, yeah. So, unless there's something
that-
else you guys see in it that,
That's only on the presidential race that you have that double page. There's no other
There's no other
office.
candidates, no,
Okay.
there's no
That that
other
happens.
offices that it does that
Yeah.
for. It is only the US President and then issue 4, 5, and 6.
Okay.
I don't
Now-
know what the filing requirements are in Arkansas, but it must not be that hard to get your name listed as president. I mean, considering that there's 13
Yeah.
candidates on there.
And if you'll notice too, Phil Collins
He's
is
done
running
twice.
as a presidential candidate and a vice
Yep,
president.
I did.
We
note
thought that was a mistake at first, so we did call on that one.
So we do have the president and vice president on 2 pages and not 3, correct?
Yes, it is on
Okay.
2 pages. So the 4 are on, the front page, and then, or 6 are on the front
okay.
page,
Yeah,
and then
you said
the remaining. And the reason why is on the second page, it just says more at the top,
Oh,
and it doesn't list the office.
okay,
And so you can get more on the
Gotcha.
second page.
okay.
So, yeah, but it is just 2 pages, which is better than what we had when we first had this in 2016, because we could do the dual column.
Right, that's what I was wondering.
Right, and so it lets us get more on there,
Okay,
so, yeah. But not enough,
yeah,
so.
okay.
Benton County's gonna have the same issue. The Democratic candidate is 6 on her ballot, and then the Republican is 10 on her
Oh,
ballot.
wow.
So, yeah, so her ballot essentially will have the same issue
Yeah.
as well.
Okay. Well, we did the ballot draw, and that's what we got. So, what else? Other thoughts, guys?
Any other critiques or things that you think maybe we could look at or change? I mean, I
No.
feel like it's a pretty clean
Looks good to me.
ballot.
I,
2 columns, I've flipped through these, I mean, looks good.
I think it's great that we dropped
We'll
the
just
US
let
president
the
and US
clock
vice
run and
president.
come up
That
with
makes it
whichever-
much cleaner.
Yep,
How
whichever
we-
one.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, we're constrained by programming issues, whether it's on
Right.
press vote
That's
or,
true.
you know, the printed absentee ballot. So I think you guys have done a good job within
Yeah,
the confines of those constraints. So,
yeah.
nice work, looks good.
Yeah,
Yes.
the second hiccup is gonna be printing on everything, you know, that's an issue.
And thank you for doing the 3 columns just to see what it looks like.
Yeah, no, we were, you say we, Debbie. We spent all day yesterday just saying, okay, no, fix this, no, fix this. And then we go to the express vote, and we'd be like, no, we gotta fix this. And so then I came in this morning and I said, Debbie, can you make a 3 column one? So, yeah.
Just for my,
So, but we
From the-
wanted to look at it, and
Yeah.
then we kind of polled people to see
Yeah.
other people in the office and everything. We didn't say anything. We just handed them both the 2 and the 3 columns, and we said, which one would you prefer
Right.
if you were having to vote on it? And they all liked the 2 column better. They just felt it was easier to, make your selections on.
yeah, I think it's relatively, I mean, it's as clean as the 3, except the 3. You know, my thought was if we could save the paper, that would be,
I agree.
you know, much simpler when counting, but if you can't do it, if it's issues,
Yeah.
there's no point in going that way.
Yeah.
So, all right, other things, upcoming meetings, y'all, September the 1st, ballot approval. Do we have a time?
At 9 o'clock?
9?
Yeah.
On Tuesday, yeah, 9 o'clock. Now,
Cool.
And I should also be able to bring in, the final list of polling places. We have that narrowed down, to the places that we want to open and which ones we need to close,
Okay.
so.
that's a week from today.
Is that the final?
It doesn't have to be, but I would love to be able to put something up on our website,
Yeah.
even if it's a tentative or these are the ones we know for sure we're going to open.
Yep.
The only reason, we are starting to get phone calls.
Oh, yeah.
What polling places are gonna be open? We wanna vote in person, where can we go
Well-
vote? Clerk's office is as well, and sample ballots all day long.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Ballots are not really.
I understand that, but we're, 2.5 months away from the election almost at this point. I mean, I get it, I'm glad people wanna make plans, but things are changing and,
Yeah.
and, we wanna plan, but, we also wanna make sure we're making the right decisions with
Right.
each of the locations.
We have until October the 5th. So, well, technically, we do, I would need to get something ready for the paper, because we have to print in the paper, so I have to be mindful of that. But we do, so we don't have to post anything yet, but we've been working on getting everything kind of narrowed down, and we've got a couple of location changes that are for the better for, in a couple of places, so yeah.
Is there anything we should talk about right now, heads up,
I was wondering,
or?
you wanted to talk about the rodeo?
So that one I just got today, and they're requesting a $50 a day fee, basically, kind of like for utilities, was what the letter said. I was thinking it was for cleaning, but it was utilities when I went back and looked at the letter. That would most likely allow us to be in there on Saturday. And we would open, I would be requesting that we are there Tuesday through Saturday. And the reason I am saying Tuesday through Saturday is because Monday or Sunday with the group that's in there, they clean. And normally we just go in on Monday. And normally we've just gone in the past and we've just wiped down tables and we've just set up. But now with any concerns about COVID, it would be nice to have the place thoroughly cleaned before we ask our poll workers to work in the location. So that's why I would suggest that we have rodeo open between Tuesday through Saturday for the 2 weeks.
But you need to confirm the Saturday.
Yes, and I asked Rick about that, and he said that, yes, the Saturdays, I'll confirm with Rick again about the Saturdays, but yeah, he said that would be the 2 Saturdays.
I mean,
$50 for the 2 Saturdays.
Not including Monday, I agree with you, I think that's no big deal. The big question is, do we wanna pay $50 a day to use the rodeo, right? I mean, we've talked about this before, it seems like every election cycle.
Recently,
the rodeo is asking us to pay to use the facility as a polling location.
Now, I will say this, given the letter, did you read the letter?
Did.
Because they're talking about, they're not able to generate any income right now, and boy, do I understand that. I'm kind of philosophically opposed to paying any place. However, in the current situation, it is more understandable. But I would prefer to call it a gratuity in hopes that they don't, I mean, it's terminology, but I feel better about it being a gratuity. Thank you for allowing us to be in your facility. But it does, I mean, the idea of making sure that they keep it clean is certainly desirable in the current environment.
If they are actually stating that they would like this to be a cleaning fee, electrical fee, something kind of user fee, of expense only out of pocket for them, for our being there, I understand that, subject to being able to pass that on. You indicated there you may be able to pass it on.
Who cares?
Right, because I feel like the reason they're asking us to pay is because, in order to keep the site open because of COVID-19, because they've lost the ability to rent out the facility, that may be a billable expense for the CARES Act. Because I do think that that is why they're coming to us and asking for us to pay for that.
See, I wouldn't be opposed to that kind of a fee, just to help offset the electrical expense and the cleaning expense. I wouldn't mind that as much as just a fee for utilizing the facility. And that would even be more, excuse me,
Go ahead.
it would even mean more to me if we can legally, logistically charge that on
Yeah,
as part of
pass it
the
on.
expenses of the election, under whatever provision, CARES Act or whatever. What are your thoughts on that, and what would be the process to find out?
So for billing for the CARES Act, we don't know exactly how much money will be left, and so basically, I'm just keeping a list of things we will bill. So for instance, right now, Evelyn comes in and she's been doing the filing of the absentees, because we're over 2,500 right now. So all of her hours are billable. We don't know how much of what I bill they will be able to reimburse us. So I can't 100% say that we would get reimbursed for that, but we can certainly ask. Now, also that if, for instance, it doesn't get billed back to the CARES Act, we can bill it as a billable expense for the election, which means that the cities will pay half of it, and then the county ends up paying half of it. So it is, in that sense, one way or the other, we can bill out the expense, whether it is to the CARES Act or whether it is to the cities for the expense of using the facility.
Refresh my memory, the last time we discussed this, they were going to charge us for the Saturdays. What I'm remembering is $500 for each Saturday?
$1,000.
For each Saturday?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, they're not asking that.
Yes, we'll be done here in just a little bit, but we're all employees, so does that?
No, you're all good.
Okay.
I just made sure nobody who wasn't an employee
Nope,
does.
we're all
Okay, perfect.
employees, so yes.
You can just turn the lights off, you don't have to
Okay.
walk up or anything.
What was he checking?
They close the courthouse at 5,
Oh.
but since we're all staff.
Oh, yeah, it's almost 5. You
Yeah.
never meet this late. Time is way off. Got it.
Yeah, it's not 9 anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, I get it. I guess the issue is what we've talked about before. It's a slippery
Yeah.
slope in terms of paying anything for any polling locations, because I empathize with their situation and not being able to bring in funds. But then at the same time, a lot of the churches and the nonprofits and the for-profit businesses where we have polling locations are in the same boat in terms of donations being down and business being down and funding being down. So I think I worry that if we set that precedent, then other places will start asking for that as well.
With you.
And then it quickly turns into, your expenses for an election are really going up because places want to be paid and to be used as a polling location. So I think that's the worry from my perspective. I don't want to lose it as a polling location because everybody knows about it and we've been using it for years and years, but,
I seem to remember also that, the state does allow, well, I guess it's like $5, isn't it?
So for the primary, the state allows for, I think it's $50 for a rental.
But that's just for the whole whatever.
I think so. But now I'd have to go back and look at it because
Yeah.
we've never had to
Right.
use it before. But there is a place in there for rental fees, but I think they cap it at a certain dollar
So it wouldn't
amount.
be for
But
every
that would
day
be
of
for
early
general election, wouldn't it, maybe for one day or not?
voting. That's what I'm thinking, for
Yeah.
one day,
Yeah.
not for 2 weeks.
Our option might be looking at the,
Civic Center.
Civic Center that we used as a trial basis early on.
yeah,
That,
Don't we have that
Perhaps
as
as
a
an
1
option.
day or
that
a
might
2
be.
day?
I mean, it's a big
right now.
facility.
So we,
Wouldn't have to pay, I guess. I
We
mean,
have-
anywhere else but there, yeah.
we have the Civic Center, for the limited early voting. I did ask, when I initially
Oh,
asked, about, using the Civic Center for the 2 weeks. I did ask if it might be available for the 2 weeks, and it would be. They only ever rent it out Saturday nights, but they don't rent out until like 9 o'clock at night, so
Mhm.
we have plenty of time
Yeah.
to shut down. I don't know, we would have to double check about the storage of our equipment, over the weekend before, for the next week.
If we only had to shut down and reload one time, might not be bad.
We
Yeah,
have to reload twice unless because,
Okay, so you're looking at it for general election then on the third,
Tuesday.
following early vote.
yeah, we have to
Okay, I
reload
got you.
twice.
And I think we could still deal with that. And I'm not trying to
No, I
put
mean.
you in a compromising position with staff, in moving equipment. That's not the objective here.
Yeah.
But if it's an alternative,
It's good that we have an alternative there, and then,
would be for my nickel. And I personally, I feel a little maybe dogmatic about it, and I told Jennifer right off the start, or just before the meeting started it, and I got the same information you guys got from her regarding this matter, and she said, what do you think about the rodeo situation? I said, well, we've begun to fight this battle the last 2 or 3 years, and I'm disappointed that the board and the powers that be tend to want to make it a profit center rather than being a community-involved entity, especially where elections are concerned. I don't mean to imply you give away your property and
Yeah.
overhead expenses every time the clock turns an hour, but I'm a little disappointed that we're having to sort of address this battle every time
Again,
it
yeah.
comes election cycle.
yeah,
And if we're gonna do that, and eventually it's gonna come to the point, in my opinion, that we won't be able to come to an agreement.
yeah,
We're gonna reach a point where they are emphatic about what they want, and we're gonna be restricted about what we're willing to do, and we're gonna have to move.
yeah. Well, I think that's well said, Bill. I do think if we pay this time, there's no going back from it. As far as the rodeo is concerned, just because this is a battle we fought the last few elections, and if we start to pay now, I think we have to just plan on paying every time if we're gonna use that
Well,
facility.
is it possible that we could get a well, that's probably not, they're not usually that good, but a commitment, a promise that we'll only do it this year, but you can't really rely on that. So, yeah, this is just unfortunate because it is gonna be, whether there's COVID or not, it's gonna be an ongoing, back and forth that,
I did ask Rick if he thought that this would just be for this year versus on, he said he couldn't speak for the board.
yeah.
So yeah, but I did ask that question too.
Good, thank you.
Because I was,
Yeah.
curious to see the
Well,
future.
I would be inclined to think, and I have no basis for this, don't know any of the board members, that I know of. But if it's their approach to it now, it's probably gonna be an
Right.
approach to it down the road,
Yeah,
would be my guess.
yeah,
If you're going there now, there's a reason to perpetuate it for the future, in my opinion.
Right.
May be wrong.
well,
These are extenuating circumstances, that we're dealing with in life right now.
it's true. It has been the same issue the last 2 or 3 election cycles.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, they are trying to make some money there to, you know, perpetuate their being there. But I guess I don't know. I really appreciate when somebody is willing to be a community supporter of elections. And I just don't feel like they're on board with that.
Well, you know, we had this issue a couple of years
It was
ago.
probably in 2016, wasn't it?
Well, it probably was, and I know I met with Rick, and then I met with the chamber people, and I met with the mayor.
Right.
Yeah,
And the chamber and the mayor were both, pretty dogmatic that they'd like for that rodeo grounds to stay open as a polling place, that they didn't wanna lose that
Right.
in Springfield, because I told them, you know, the option is to, that's when we were talking about
Mhm.
the $2,000 fee, the $1,000 for each Saturday. And they were pretty dogmatic about wanting to keep that facility open,
Right.
and we did, if you'll remember.
Yes.
So, I don't wanna have to go back as a
Every
commission.
time.
every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, mayors change, chamber leaders change, board members change.
yep,
We're dealing with, an uncontrollable situation there, in my opinion.
yeah,
We're gonna have to bite the bullet eventually. It's not like it's been the last 25 years.
yeah.
Yeah.
Going forward for whatever reason. So I think it's something we need to think about as Plan B.
I agree, and I agree that I appreciate when facilities let us use it as a polling location for free, because it's all of our civic duty.
Exactly.
Yes.
Elections are all of our civic duty as good people, you know, we're good citizens and we're good stewards
Y'all
of
come up to
democracy.
my house and vote.
Yeah, exactly,
There you go.
yeah, so it's,
Put up a big tent.
I've
But-
got an RV that isn't getting used. It's got 2 doors,
There you go.
one in, one out. We can do it.
Perfect, perfect.
we've gotta, I agree though, Bill, we've gotta change at some point, it seems like, because
It looks
there's-
like it's inevitable.
it's inevitable, they're gonna charge us, they're not gonna go back on that unless something changes, and I agree. Either we're gonna pay and we're not gonna pay what they wanted before, or we should just go ahead and change it.
Yeah. Well, when do we have to make this decision?
What I would suggest, and simply suggestion maybe, is to have Jennifer get clarification from Rick. And also, if need be, Jennifer, I don't know what more conversation you can have with him. But number one, number two, verify that the center is open.
I will,
Yeah, lock it down,
Oh, good
confirm
point.
that.
Yeah.
lock it down.
And then let's make a decision what we wanna do here in the next, well, maybe at the next
Yes.
meeting even.
That's fine. I mean, I think this was good, it's good to talk about this as a item we can parcel off.
We don't want to change if we don't have to. We're serving the public as well, and our interest is the voting public. And we'd like to stay where we are if we possibly can, but if we can't,
Yep,
we need to move forward.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad option B,
No.
location-wise.
oh no, the Zoom Center is great. I
yeah,
mean, it's got, the space in there is huge.
Mhm.
It's got, an exit and an entrance set up for us. There's plenty of outlets. I mean, they were super welcoming to us.
Mhm.
And, I mean, they were really easy to work with.
Right.
yeah.
Definitely.
I don't know who owns that facility now.
Is it Vega,
Is it a nonprofit? I mean, how does?
no, it's not. They rent it out, they have bands come in on Saturday night. There's a radio station in there.
Yeah.
Just a couple of other things that they do in there, but typically through the week, they don't have anything because it's really set up for Saturday, like for Saturday night,
One a week
type of
deal.
event.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Well, that's the only only question that I would have is the ownership continuation, so that we,
Yeah,
Edward Vega
that's right.
is the owner of it. So he's been really wonderful to work with, so.
Cool,
Well, hey,
yeah.
if we don't go to the rodeo, there will be some pushback from people who are saying, well, I've voted at rodeo for 100 years, but the Civic Center is close enough that it shouldn't be inconvenient.
No, and if there is any pushback, I mean, I think we tell folks, hey, contact the rodeo board. This wasn't our decision.
Yeah.
This is a decision that was made by the rodeo,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And on the flip side, I mean, could we expand, where's the other location up there that we're doing the limited early
So
voting?
it was gonna be the Civic Center.
Yeah,
This
but
one we would be doing.
What's the other one, though? Elmdale.
Oh, Elmdale,
Yeah,
yes.
could you tack on 2 more days for Elmdale too or something?
Ah,
So.
Just because it's, you know,
Yeah.
it's rodeo's here and the other civic center here. I don't know, just an idea.
but that,
Probably only Thursday, and the reason I say that is because most churches have a Wednesday service.
right.
Oh, okay.
So,
Got it.
but I will check with Elmdale.
They may not use that part of the building. I don't know.
I bet they do because, most of them have, especially if they have like
Youth
kids
program.
or youth
Yeah.
programs,
Yeah.
they've been using their gymnasiums and
Right.
being able to spread the kids out. And they also have, because it's a basketball court, they have had basketball in there.
Right.
But I will
Okay.
check with Elmdale about,
Cool.
about the dates.
Okay. All right, what other ones are you concerned
you
about?
know, let's not lose sight of the possibility of billing, that we could bill the fees, you know, out. If we can bill the
Right,
fees out,
right.
that eases the pain, but still it sets precedence.
That's the precedent.
So I think that's what we have to throw in the mix as well, personally,
Yeah,
And if you may want to do a little more research on what we can and cannot bill in that regard.
Well, it's not, I think we can bill it, the question is there going to be funds left in
Oh, yeah.
the CARES Act?
yeah.
I know I can bill it as part of general election, like I know that it's allowable to be billed, it's just a question of how much CARES Act dollars will be available.
And what other dominoes will fall if we do make a precedent here?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
We
Okay.
did also meet with Trinity Fellowship, this week as well. Was it this week? Last week, since we were together.
You think it's Friday, but it's only Tuesday.
We did meet with Trinity Fellowship, and where we were located, they actually have a huge gymnasium right on the same ground.
Well, we're using that the
Knew
whole time.
that.
I have no idea why we were not using that the whole time. So, Christian Life Cathedral, I think, is one of the polling locations we will have to close.
Yep.
But that gymnasium, we will be able to set
It's around the
up.
back, right?
It's around the
Yeah.
back,
You can put signs on both those streets
Oh, that's
too, because
Yeah.
you can access that gym really easily from
Yeah.
back there.
it's wonderful. I mean, plenty of space for it. It has an entrance and a separate exit, so we won't have to, worry about that. And so we will be moving into
Good.
the gym for Trinity Fellowship. So Trinity Fellowship was a major concern because of how it was set up.
Yep.
But by moving into the gymnasium, gives us a ton more space.
I wondered
there.
why they didn't put us back there.
Well, there's been different things in it in the past.
Oh,
And so we just called to see what
Mhm.
else might be, because we knew there was something
Yeah,
back there.
right.
And they were very accommodating,
good.
and will let us use the gymnasium
Super.
there.
So that problem's been resolved.
Right, and I meet on Thursday with Mount Comfort Church of Christ to finalize that, so hopefully we
Good.
have that safe on Mount Comfort. We are looking at a new place in Johnson. The Johnson City Hall is just
Oh,
so
it's awful.
tiny.
Yeah.
We met with a church today, that has a big space inside, plenty of parking, still in Johnson, so that will give us, a new
Willing.
place there.
Cool.
Willing to let us,
Yes, they met with the pastor today. He has to run it by his board, but he thinks that that should not be an issue. So,
Good.
So,
Those are good developments.
yeah, we've been lucky with all of our places. Oh, the other one we were looking at is Winslow. Right now, we're in the Boston Mountain Fire Station, and then Brentwood, which is a smaller building too. They met with, a church in Winslow that has a big space inside. We may just combine those two smaller locations into the one inside the city limits of Winslow. So
But if they got a big facility,
they do,
yeah, that'd be great.
it's bigger than where we're at in the other locations. So we've been kind of narrowing down places where we need to close. And then some places we've gone and met with just to kind of rework how we set up
Oh, yeah.
inside
Yeah.
the facility. Is there a different space for us? Can we use these doors, to make an entrance and an exit? So.
Well, we'll have to approve those,
At some point, we don't have to approve them
not on
September
September 1st,
but we will, yeah.
then, I mean,
a couple of weeks.
if we're all up to date and we're fine with them, I'm fine to do them then. But, or we can just talk about them in more detail,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Every,
a week from today, on the first.
yeah. I mean, the ones that you've stated so far seem fine, seem like good changes. Yeah.
Okay, any other places, or do you wanna just
Um,
hold those off?
I don't think so. I think the nice thing is, from what we've been doing right now, out of 45 polling locations, honestly, we're only looking at maybe having to close 5.
There is an article, I don't know if y'all saw it, but the headline was Washington County closing polling places. That was the big thing, and I'm like, what?
But the
So-
article, the headline I thought didn't match the
No,
article.
I
It didn't.
agree, but who reads beyond the headline? That's the problem.
So maybe that's why I've been getting the phone calls.
Oh,
I've been getting phone calls about
Yeah.
polling locations.
yeah,
I mean, if we're closing, if we have to close 5 locations out of 45 locations because of COVID-19, that's just over 10% of the locations because of COVID-19, and compared to other places around the country,
Mhm.
that's nothing. I mean, that's just a small fraction.
right.
With the expanded absentee voting opportunities that voters have with early voting, that's a lot of opportunities
And you hate to
cast
call
your
it
ballot.
any, but sometimes we don't have that choice, and if you can't work the whole situation where you've got an entrance and an exit that are workable, what choice do we have? It's
And-
not really a choice.
And staff.
I agree,
And
and the
staff,
staffing,
yes.
exactly. You've already lost poll
Right.
workers, and you know that you're gonna lose some additional poll workers before Election Day, and you don't wanna have committed to open a facility that you know isn't workable or that you can't staff, so.
Right.
Well,
Okay,
we're on top of that aspect of it,
Yep.
yeah.
and we'll get the straight story out there when it's time.
Right. Okay, well, our next meeting is a week from today at 9 a.m. Any other business, y'all?
Nope,
I
Okay,
have none.
then we're adjourned.
perfect.
Got everything done you needed done?
Today.
For the next 20 minutes, huh?
Don't-
My list of things that I have
don't-
to get done.
don't- Jennifer, don't get pushy.
Oh, my
I'm
goodness.
sorry.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
I'm gonna-
for today.
An inch is a mile.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
That'll keep her honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
My girls won't want to color. They like to color.
Little levity here and there.
Yeah, you have a little
Yeah.
here and
I
there.
went to the river over the weekend, I left last Friday. Yeah.
Good. About out where you guys used to have your place or not? Different river?
Oh,
Same place.
Yeah,
North Fork and the White.
yeah.
And we stay with friends that have a
Yeah,
beautiful
that was-
home on the river.
That's what I thought you guys did.
Yeah.
That